say this is for ordinary people, but crash the economy to give tax cuts to the richest 1%. A party that is now so desperate, so broken by its failure to address your problems, that it has completely cut itself adrift from the responsibility of service, reduced, with no record to defend, to exploiting Britain's problems for the politics of division. But look, here's the good news. They don't get to choose. You don't have to take it anymore. You can stop them. And that's the beauty of democracy. The power of the vote rests in your hands. And on the 2nd of May, you can reject the chaos, you can reject division, you can reject decline and vote for national renewal with Labour. Because make no mistake, Labour has a plan to get Britain's future back, a plan to drag politics in this country back to service, tilt our economy back towards the interests of working people, get us building again, working again, growing again, by unlocking the pride and potential of communities like Dudley. And that's what we'll be campaigning on during these elections. And look, I know some of you may have heard this kind of thing before. In fact, as Anne said, this is the reason we came to Dudley to launch this campaign. Because, of course, it was right here that the former Prime Minister, well, actually the former Prime Minister, if I'm going to be accurate, gave his big levelling up speech, a project he said would turn the tide on regional inequality in this country and give a fair share to towns like Dudley. And you know, people say to me, the is to prey on people's fear. Yet in some ways, preying on their hopes is just as bad. And that's what the Tories did with levelling up. Of course it struck a chord. Of course, a town like Dudley wanted that hope to be real. Not just the promise of a better future. We all need that. It's also how that project knowingly spoke to what towns like this have lost. The way of life that disappeared when the factories or pits closed. The community, the security, the chest-out pride that grows when you are certain your contribution is respected. That what you do, what you make, matters. And not just for your family, but for your community, your country, and even beyond our shores. A pride that looked out to the world and said, this is our place. This is who we are. Now, it was steel here, but the same is true of shipbuilding in towns like Hartlepool, car manufacturing across the region, mining everywhere from the chalk and clay of Essex to the coal seams of the Midlands and the North. I mean, look at the names of our football clubs. Stoke City, the Potters, Stourbridge just down the road, the Glass Boys, Angie Stockport, the Hatters. Now, that pride is still there. Of course it is. And why not? I think Stockport gunning for promotion. But over the years, it's a pride that's become a little less sure of the ground beneath its feet, in need of a stronger foundation, a government willing to see communities like this not as a charity case or a political client, but as a source of growth and dynamism ready to be unlocked. A partnership where politics offers you service rather than turning its back once it's counted your vote. Now, we understand that in the Labour Party. Trust me. What towns like this have been through over the decades. It's our history, our communities, and, in many cases, the story which has shaped our families. My dad was a toolmaker. He worked in a factory. He always felt, particularly in the 80s, that he was looked down upon, disrespected. But equally, my sister is a care worker now. So I will never accept that it's only the work of the past which deserves our pride and respect. And that was the great lesson of the pandemic. It showed exactly who made up the backbone of Britain. The carers, the couriers, the driving, the teaching assistants, the warehouse workers, the supermarket staff, the nurses and the paramedics. The working people of this country, my Labour Party, stands with you. And that's my biggest frustration with these 14 wasted years. It's not just the stagnation, not just the price working people have paid. It's also the countless missed opportunities to give working people the power to drive our country forward, to bring people together outside of a crisis, unlock that pride people have for their community, and harness it to change our country. Now, levelling up is a good ambition for Britain. Taking back control, if it means control for communities, not politicians in Westminster, that is absolutely essential for growth. But moving forward requires not just a new plan, but also a fundamental shift in how we govern. Britain's got an economy that hoards potential and a politics that hoards power. And it's no coincidence, no accident, that this leaves us with more regional inequality than anywhere else in Europe. So if we want to change our economy, we must also change our politics. And both these goals require things we know the Tories will never deliver: economic stability, a commitment to service, a recognition that the sticking plaster approach to investment costs Britain more in the long run, that economic growth is not something that those at the top hand down to the rest of the country, and that a more dangerous world needs a more dynamic government prepared to step in alongside business and communities to deliver the security that working people need. But perhaps most of all, it needs an end to politics that is done to communities, not with them. No more political hero complexes, no more fantasies, no more easy answers that require nobody, politicians or anybody else, to lift a finger. Change comes from us all. I mean that. The Tory era of politics as performance art is coming to an end. But to get Britain out of this hole, we all need to roll up our sleeves. National renewal is a partnership. And I'm not here to tell you everything will be easy. That's what happened 4 years ago. Labour will give you a plan. We'll give you new powers to make a difference in your community. But look around your country. We need you. After everything you've been through in the past 14 years, I know this is a hard request to make. I know how little faith there is in politics to make a difference. But in your heart of hearts,